One of the biggest upgrades in Polygon's history is happening soon, and that's the transition from the old Matic token to the new POL token. In this video, I'll be diving into what that means for Polygon, my thoughts on what could happen after the upgrade, and what you need to do if you're holding Matic today. I'll also be diving into my bull and bear case for Polygon a little bit later in this video. On September 4th, Polygon has officially announced they're transitioning Matic into the new POL token. This is a pretty big deal, but I'm sure some of you guys are wondering, what is the POL token? Today, Polygon's token is Matic, but as a part of their vision for the future, Polygon is getting rid of Matic and replacing it with a new token called POL. Matic, up to this point, has been the token for the Polygon chain. This is the main Polygon chain you've probably used if you've ever interacted with Polygon. In the same way that Solana has Sol as its gas token for the Solana blockchain, Polygon has Matic as the gas token for the Polygon blockchain. So Matic, up to this point, has just been a token used to secure a single chain, and that's the Polygon chain. The new POL token will secure multiple different chains, on top of securing the Polygon chain like Matic did in the past. And on top of now being used for all these different chains, the new POL token also has new utilities or new ways that it can be used across all these different chains. With POL, validators can validate as many different chains as they want across the AggLayer ecosystem. And each chain can offer multiple roles to those validators, including things like ZK proof generation, participation in data availability committees, and a ton more. And I'm sure the majority of you guys are maybe confused by what that stuff is or how it works. It doesn't really matter. The whole point is the POL token can be used across a multitude of new chains and in a lot of different new ways, making it therefore a lot more useful. And all of this really revolves around Polygon's new AggLayer. I've done podcasts with Sandeep, the co-founder of Polygon, Mark, the CEO of Polygon, and Brendan, one of the other co-founders, and I've learned quite a bit about how the AggLayer actually works. Back in 2021, Polygon spent $500 million to acquire the best ZK talent on the face of the planet. They bought startups, they made hires, and they started building towards this new vision they had for the future. Zero knowledge is hailed as the future of all cryptography. It's like the cryptography endgame. But back then, back in 2021, most people thought that zero knowledge was a long ways off. Like we still had a long ways to go before zero knowledge would be able to actually be applied to a lot of the things that have been being built within the crypto space. But Polygon thought that we could potentially get there a lot quicker, and that's why they went all in, hiring all this ZK talent. And these teams got to work trying to solve one of the biggest issues within the entire crypto space. Crypto has a major problem, and that's fragmentation. There are now a ridiculous amount of different blockchains, but the problem is they're all separate and they can't communicate with each other. Obviously, we have things like bridges, right? So like I can bridge funds from one blockchain to another. But these are really a workaround solution, and they have a ton of limitations that really slow things down. Now, a lot of projects over the years have claimed and promised that they were going to fix this problem. But up until this point, so far, nobody has been able to deliver. However, I and many others believe that Polygon's AggLayer is going to be the first real solution to actually fix this problem. And the AggLayer is often misunderstood even by people that have deep technical knowledge of the crypto space. The AggLayer, put really simply, enables various blockchains to connect together seamlessly, as if they were essentially all the same chain. You could have 2 or 3 or 4 different chains and move between them seamlessly without even really knowing you're moving between different blockchains. In the future, Polygon imagines moving between chains being as simple as moving between websites. Today, for example, if I want to use an app that's on Base Chain, Coinbase is layer 2, and I have my funds on Arbitrum, moving my funds from Arbitrum to go use that app on Base Chain is a real pain and a real process. I first have to bridge my funds from Arbitrum to Base, so I could use a bridge to bridge my funds over, or often what I'll do is I'll send those funds to Coinbase, and then I'll send the funds from Coinbase over to Base. On top of that, the liquidity on Arbitrum is isolated from the liquidity on Base. And I'm really not even doing it justice here. Like it's actually a really big deal that there's all these different blockchains, and for every single blockchain, you have to have different sources of liquidity. It makes liquidity super thin across all these chains, when it would be significantly better if all this liquidity was brought together into one place where people went to swap and trade. With Polygon's AggLayer, you have what's called unified liquidity, where liquidity, instead of being separate, is actually shared across different chains. On top of that, moving between chains that are connected to the AggLayer will take seconds, and users might not necessarily even know they're moving between different chains. For example, let's say that you had some funds on Polygon's main chain, but you want to use this cool new special app on OKX's AggLayer. If both are connected to the AggLayer, all you have to do is go use the app on AggLayer as if your funds are already there. There's no need to bridge over funds. There's no need to send over tokens. There's no need for like some special gas token. It's seamless and easy and feels as if you're using the same exact chain. And again, this is all enabled by zero knowledge tech, which allows us to do all sorts of new things that we couldn't previously do in the past. And already the roster of chains that are slated to join the AggLayer are insane. There's OKX's AggLayer, which OKX has over 50 million users on their exchange. It's like basically Asia's base. There's Ronin, the uber successful gaming chain. There's Immutable, the other powerhouse gaming chain. And it's important to note between Ronin, Immutable, and Polygon, they control something like 90% of all of the crypto gaming market share. So if you're bullish on crypto gaming, you should definitely be bullish on the AggLayer. Movement Labs is building on the AggLayer. This is bringing the Move language invented by Facebook that's used by Sui and Aptos to the Polygon AggLayer ecosystem. Ton from Telegram, the super popular app with close to 1 billion users, is releasing a new layer 2 on the AggLayer, and tons more chains as well, but you can see that is a powerhouse list of different chains that are joining into this ecosystem. And it's important to highlight that all these different chains are going to be sharing liquidity and sharing users across the AggLayer ecosystem. So each new chain that joins builds a stronger moat for the AggLayer ecosystem because all this liquidity comes together and all these users come together into one specific place. And the POL token sits at the center of all of this. Now you're probably wondering, if you hold Matic today, what is going to happen and what are you going to have to do when POL launches in September? And I'm going to answer that as well as my bull case for Polygon in just a second, but really quick. The Obsidian Council is my private research community where I share monthly research, my entire portfolio updated monthly with the exact allocation I bought and a ton more. We've had projects like Pindle, which is up over 1,500%, projects like Solana, which is up over 779%, projects like Akash, which is up over 1,700%, and recently I got really lucky with Goon and it went up over 179,000%. That definitely is not typically normal, and that's definitely an outlier example. We also have the Airdrop guide, with some members made over $26,000 last year from airdrops alone, covering their entire membership for literally decades. I personally made well over 100K between this year and last, and I share everything I'm personally doing with airdrops with the community via the monthly Airdrop guide. The Obsidian Council is currently closed, but if you want to join the waitlist, there's a link in the description of this video. Okay, from my understanding, if you hold Matic today, you aren't going to have to do anything when Polygon's POL token launches. According to a recent CoinDesk article, Matic holders on the Polygon POS chain won't have to do anything for this upgrade, and their tokens will show up in POL. Now, I'm not sure what that means for Matic tokens that have their tokens on Ethereum or Matic holders that have their tokens on exchanges. Typically, exchanges do this process for you. So in the past, when we've had big token swaps or upgrades like this, the exchange handles everything and you don't have to worry about anything. But it still kind of begs the question, what will happen with Matic tokens on Ethereum? My understanding, based on the conversations that I've had, is that when you bridge those Matic tokens over to the Polygon chain, they'll automatically get converted into POL and you won't have to worry about it. But I'm not 100% sure, and obviously things could change as time goes on. Now, so far this cycle, Polygon has just not been performing very well. As someone who personally holds a decent amount of Matic, I can say it's been definitely a really frustrating year holding Polygon because it just hasn't really done much. And I think the reasons for this are a couple different things. First off, Matic is an old token. Like, Polygon was really popular last cycle, and for whatever reason within the crypto space, everyone loves like the shiny new thing, and they tend to hate kind of like the older tokens, or they tend to ignore all the older tokens. On top of that, most people that I talk to have literally no idea what the AggLayer is, that Polygon's been building all this stuff. Their knowledge of Polygon basically stops after 2021, and they have no idea what happened after that. And even of the people that have heard of the AggLayer, most people don't understand how it works or maybe like the implications for the wider space. So in my opinion, in general, there just hasn't been any reason for Polygon to do well up until this point, because there haven't been really any good catalysts to put more mindshare on Polygon as a whole. But it's been my belief, and I've talked about this in the past, that we'd see something similar to what happened with Solana with Polygon this cycle due to all these different catalysts that I see coming on the horizon. And before I continue, as always, none of this is investment advice. This is just my personal opinion. My channel is like a big old Pinterest board. You can see my thoughts, the things I'm thinking, the things I'm talking about, investing into, etc. But clearly, I'm not your financial advisor, and this is just like my own opinions and thoughts. First off, as I mentioned, people prefer new tokens over old tokens. And Polygon is about to get a new token as its Matic token is getting phased out and getting replaced with the new POL token. I believe this transition to a new token is the first catalyst to bring back some attention and mindshare to the Polygon ecosystem. People pay attention when a new token launches, and it usually causes them to take a deeper look at the underlying ecosystem, which is what I'm hoping will happen when Polygon's Matic transitions over into POL. And obviously, when people take a deeper look at what Polygon's been doing, it is pretty insane the amount of progress that they've made, and I think it'll get a lot of people excited about the future of Polygon and what they're building with the AggLayer. The second catalyst, I believe, is going to be Polygon's main chain, its proof of stake chain, transitioning to a full-fledged layer 2. Now, obviously, this might not matter to most, but who this does really matter to is Ethereum influencers. Right now, when Ethereum influencers are like talking about ETH or they're talking about layer 2s and their success, they never include Polygon, because Polygon technically isn't a layer 2, it's a sidechain. But that's going to change when Polygon transitions to a full-fledged layer 2, at which point Polygon's main chain is going to dominate when it comes to layer 2s because it has already a ton of users. When it comes to total active addresses, Polygon sits just under Solana and above Base, Arbitrum, and Optimism, and many others. It's also important to note that the single biggest breakout app in all of crypto right now is Polymarket, which is built on Polygon. All of this currently isn't circulated to the masses by Ethereum influencers because it's not relevant to like the arguments they're trying to make. But it will be in the future, and I'm really hopeful that a lot more mindshare is going to be on Polygon because of that. The third catalyst, in my opinion, is going to be the AggLayer going live. Right now, it's partially live, but it's being rolled out in different stages as most crypto updates typically are. And I personally think that most people won't appreciate or understand how impactful the AggLayer is going to be until they experience it for themselves. Finally, the last catalyst I believe is going to be when crypto finally enters an alt season. So far, we really haven't had any sort of meaningful alt season this cycle. And if the past is any guide or any indicator, typically alt season starts about 3 to 6 months after the Bitcoin halving, which would put us around October this cycle if it ends up playing out the same way, which obviously there's no guarantees that it will, but that's at least some sort of loose roadmap to look at. Overall, however, it's my opinion that Polygon is massively underrated. Given the tech they've built, their share of the crypto gaming market, the number of really high quality chains joining the AggLayer, the fact that their token previously was just used to secure a single chain and merited, the value it's currently at, and it's about to be a token that's going to be securing all sorts of new chains in new ways. The fact that the number one breakout app this entire cycle is built on Polygon. The fact that in terms of total active addresses, Polygon sits just under Solana, but it's valued much, much lower. And the fact that the team building all this is one of the most powerhouse, talented teams in the entire space. And a good chunk of a lot of the new zero knowledge applications that are being built by other teams are actually built on open source tech, Plonky 3, which was originally developed by Polygon and then made open source for other people to use. My current plan is to continue holding my Matic and see how this all ends up playing out. If you want to watch my podcast with Brendan, Sandeep, and Mark, check out my podcast, Never Die. Also, if you're interested, make sure to sign up for my free weekly crypto newsletter. It's mostly just all my content I put out each week in an easy email so you don't miss it. But occasionally I drop some other cool stuff in there, including sometimes I even share like different things I'm buying before I share it on my YouTube channel. As always, none of this was investment advice. None of this was me telling you to go buy any of these things or do any of these things. You're an adult. You're accountable for your own decisions. If you genuinely want to succeed as an investor, you have to do the research, you have to put in the hard work, and you have to put in the effort to be a good investor. If this video is helpful, make sure to hit that like button. If you have any questions or comments, let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the little bell next to it to be notified each week when I release a new video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.